Hello, welcome back to our CSCI 380 web programming and interface design. And for today's lab, we will continue on the Happy.js. Will be more like we're adding more library package and how can we handle those different routing and validation and how can we install extra plugins. Okay, so as a basic one, we are using the Happy.js, right? So we are going to use others for the authentication, other stuff, validation, so all this. And in the beginning, you need to know one more things about like maybe some handler routing or how can we handle certain inputs. Okay, checking the past parameters. Okay, you need to know. And next, when we move on, how can we organize those using the plugins? Okay, so far we will I summarize all the Happy.js in this lab. And so far, once we finish this part, we'll move on to about the MongoDB. Okay, and how can we connect the MongoDB with Happy.js together? So how can we serve the API server and then connect with the database? That means maybe a NoSQL, MongoDB, or like regular RDMS like MySQL. Okay, and for the basic, we need to, I think you already have an idea, like we have the CRUD. Okay, the crew, that means like how can we try to create a record, read the record, update a record, or delete it. Okay, so if you remember, we have four methods, right? And we will ask the second question, how can we pass the parameters to the server? Okay, sometimes we need to send all the user profile. Let's say they need to create an account. They have a username, password, email, okay, DOB, okay, and maybe address, whatever, any information. Okay, sometimes we will pass it as a parameter. So when you look at it, we come with a slash and curly bracket ID. This one is because the parameters or the query. So when we put in a question mark, and then putting a category equals to this one is like what's called a query in a string. So here's the way. And I will let you to try. So here's will be your coming next assignment. So you need to complete it. Okay, so you need to have a Happy.js able to handle all these like requests. Okay, I'm passing the parameter, sometimes using a query, okay, and pass it as a parameter. And how can we return the content as a JSON? How can we respond it? Okay, so all this means that we also have a using post method, okay, to like post it or like put, okay, after for the data submission. So you were going to try, but you will learn the basic stuff in this lab. Okay, so you can go to do it. Okay, so first when we look at the routering, I assume like in our previous lab, you already know the server respond to different HTTP requests. So we have four different methods, right? So including get and post, I say mainly, and then put is we try to update the data and then delete the record. And the path is the URL endpoint. Okay, so slash. Okay, so you need to remember if we have a same method using, let's say, get, then all the path endpoint, okay, that means that your endpoint should be unique, different. Okay, make sure. And then is the handler we're going to include it and would be the function like execute. So we're going to maybe connect to the MongoDB, and then we need to select different data, or sometimes we need to doing some calculation, mathematical calculation, whatever, and then return it. Okay, so these are basically is a routing, and we already say the method like request, so you need to remember mainly would be four of them. Okay, so you need to remember. So it's create called the okay, create. Okay, and then retrieve data, update, and remove. Okay, and if you look at the structure, so we will using including have a route, and we have different way to show. Actually, when you look at the source code, you will see the syntax. Okay, maybe we'll put it as a different route, like outside as a asynchronous function or inside whole block. Okay, so it's acceptable like in syntax. So you can try in different way, but mainly you need to know is right here with methods, path, and a handler. Okay, and then we have certain request passing. And if we are adding parameters, so we're adding like slash right here, and then using curly bracket okay, or sometimes with query, so it's a question mark, then we can get it. So we can using the handler like inside to retrieve the data. Okay, we can get it from the parameter or get it from the query. Okay, and then of course we're going to return it. So this one is the JSON or like it's the array JSON file object. Okay, so you see it's an array object. So sometimes we were using like array index 0 to get the first item, and then what's the ID or the name. So his example, we're going to retrieve it. And if we have something, let's say if we are getting it from the payload, that means like using post method. Okay, so that one is from payload. So we can use the dot request, okay, payload. Okay, so request dot payload, and then all the objects in this payload, we can use the dot notation to retrieve it. So it's another way to get it if we are using post method. And for the let's say we need to update certain content, you see right here slash like ID. So this one we can get from request.params. Okay, so it's that parameters. So the name is referred exactly identical right here. So should be like if you're using ID, username. Okay, refer any name you're using, or session ID. Okay, so wherever you're using. And then the name maybe we are getting from the payload. That means like we post it or sending this to this endpoint, we using a method like let's say using put. So we have the path with the parameters with the payload. That means we have a JSON body like included. Okay. You may say I have no idea how can I post it. I will give you the sample like the crew, or that you can use the postman. Try to send it later when you work on your project. Okay, and you need to know how can you add the JSON body, okay, into your payload. Okay, I will give you the example so you don't have to worry about that. Then let's say if we have a delete, just like we try to retrieve the maybe the ID. So far, because in this moment we still not yet connect to our MongoDB, so we just like handle in our Happy.js, our API server side. Okay, so we just say giving certain response, have a code, and that's it. Okay, so basically you should able to implement all this method. Okay, is getting familiar with it. And next, just like reminding you, when we work on an API server, you need to consider, for example, the security. Okay, so remember, the cloud provider always only provide infrastructure security, but for us as a customer or like as the developer, most of the time we handle with the application security. That means how can we enhance the API server? Okay, we need to be careful. If you heard about, or some of you, if you do learn the cybersecurity, you know, some like the DOS, denial of service, or DDoS, okay, or the insider threats, or like data breach. Okay, so wherever all these common threats, say how can we make it, because we don't have that much time cover the security part. Okay, but if you're interested, then also, if I am in next semester for the smart things security, actually, I will also cover the API server. So that one will include a little bit more. Okay. Just let you know. Okay. And another one is like for validation, we're going to use is called the JOI. Okay. So JOI. Okay. So you can use either the instrument Happy Build is kind of like integrate together, or it does have a separate. Okay. So either way is okay. You can install it, and then it can help us to validate the payload. So if you remember the payload, that means it's from the body. Okay, so we can use the schema, setting certain schema to check the invaded data entry and make sure it match what we are expecting. Okay, so it will better, okay, for our security, or like better to save to our database. Okay, and mainly one thing we say is the validation. Of course, once they provide the like authentication and authorization, so both like it can provide by itself. I may try to do it. So here's an example. So if you already installed Joey, so you can use the request. Okay, and sometimes we in the language the other version they're using import. Okay, so they have different syntax, but we can follow this one, and then we can create the schema. So we can use the Joey like object. So we can define right here, let's say this string, okay, and we can define, you can say it's a minimum, okay, it's required, or sometimes it's a maximum, you can set the maximum max, or like you can check it's an email, okay, so we have more documents. I will open a HappyJS show it, and then you can refer to it, okay, for more details. Once you need it, and then you can add to your HappyJS to enhance your security. And also, another one we can use is the cookie. Okay, just like introduced you may use it for your project. It's not necessary. Okay, this part, but I recommend you to learn it. Okay, you need to know that using the cookie, and because using cookie, if you know the network security, okay, so it provides stateless like connection. So it's way better. After we already installed the modules. Okay, you just using the request and then adding the strategy, adding the cookies. Okay, for session. Okay, so for testing in the beginning we were using 4, but when we turn into production, we change it to 2, and we were adding another route. Okay, let's say we have a login. That means like if we detect we have connection, then we will the API server will redirect to the login page. Okay. For your project, it's not compulsory to use it. Okay. But I would like to introduce you so you can learn. Okay. It's like kind of more advanced, and then you can create a path like this, like login page. So once you're logged in, then you can return the login page. Of course, in this one, actually the HappyJS, you can use say, okay, after you redirect to login success, and then you can return, or like you can setting a path. Okay, in let's say this one is called the login. Okay, so it's a parameter login, and then you can create a page like called the login page in your React.js. Okay, that means that when you receive the return message, is that okay, you're allowed to log in, then you can redirect the user. Okay, we call the Windows redirect. But if you remember the DOM, okay, the level 1, 2, 3, okay, all this. So you can use the Windows that redirect it to a login page. So it's the another way for enhance your website structure. Okay, and of course, just remember you like using those API to provide the security. Okay, also try to encrypt or data progression, always like encryption. But we don't have time now to cover more details about the API server, and because later we have to move on to the MongoDB, okay, database, and then cover all the details. Yes. So limited time. Okay. Later we have something you can know, but you don't have to implement. So you need to know. Let's say how can we use HTTPS. Later in the kind of last part, I will talk about how to let's say create the AWS. Okay, or you can try to use your local server to set up using the nginx to serve the request, and then run as a service, and then we can use the let's encrypt, okay, to create the certificate. Okay, so what's the S? Okay, so create the HTTPS. Okay, of course, nginx can help us to work on the rate limitation. Okay, already using the API server to validate the user input, so it's really helpful. Actually, there's a one more is the JWT. Okay, it's for the authentication. So you will see one's for cookie and then one's the authentication JWT. So you can also install it. So it's a happy slash a JWT. So this one is the web token for the secure the API communication. So after you install it, it's a pretty straightforward. So you just are adding a new strategy, and then you can add a new key. Okay, create any key. Okay, and then once we try to validate, so we have the like decode it, and then once we validate, then it's okay. Okay. Of course, we have other objects for details. But this one is a bonus. Okay. I will provide you a more like some sample code so you can refer to. And actually, even on the HappyJS like official website, their document also give you a sample. So it's not difficult to apply all this. So in your project, if you able to add all this, it will be a bonus. Okay. And when you set up, you will see maybe website protected. Okay, so we have authorized and default using a GWT, and then we have called the protect path. So here is a protect route. Okay, so is the design of it. So we're going to validate, make sure we have the key. Okay, so right here, and if we have an endpoint, let's say we have user, if you want to protect this one, then you can using author and then using the DWT right here. Okay, so we can validate. So it's the protected way to handle it. And then kind of like last right here. So just let you know that we have the happy.js is more like it's a pub in like modules like route and logic. So all this part. So we can add um all these like route or like we can save it as a request, okay, and then we just add it. So we can um make this API okay scalable. Okay, so we can add different router with it, and then we can register it, adding it to API server. So we can let's say if you this time only have a 10 router and then you want to add a specific one or create another JS file handle for the user. Okay, maybe once the user, one is there for transaction, one is a card, okay, or checkout, whatever. So all these, then you can create different file and then register it. Okay, so import it. So it's a better for us to build a scalable okay project. Of course, in this moment, maybe you have no idea, but hopefully the project you can try to implement. But step one, always make it work first, and then you can enhance it. So it's always recommended. And for your exercise, okay, I would recommend you to do that. At least try to add the API. Okay, make sure for example, you have a bookstore. Okay, adding a books retrieve it, and then you want to pass the parameters and query. So try to add it at least like for the query you can try, and also this one is just a warm-up for your assignment. Okay, so it's pretty similar. So at least for your assignment, you need to create. Okay, so API server, and then like try to install it to validate the content. Okay, and using Joey, and then also you need to like validate your parameters or payload. Okay, or query. Okay, so that's what you need to do, and try to give you an example. I will, in case if you don't remember, okay, I already start a project right here. So if you are interested, you can follow. Okay, so let me change it. If you have no idea, that you know, so if you want to start a project, we always start like npm. Okay, initialize it, right? So you can initialize it, so you can see the node modules with a package JSON file. Okay, and you can because I already start this project, so it's fine. But if you want, I can start a new one. Okay, hand like this. Okay, so I can start a new folder and then with 10 right here. Okay, so I just have a same. So you can npm and then initialize it. Okay, you can pass the parameter yes. That means that by default all the content. So I can quickly create a project. So remember, sometimes you say, oh, why it doesn't work? Because you forgot to initialize your project. And then next, you can install the plugin. Okay, so if you remember, because we need to install the you know, install the Happy.js, Joey, and then if you want to install a JWT, yes, you can install it. But this time, okay, I just need two, okay, and then I just say install and save because I going to save it. I concatenate. Okay, so right here you have a package and save it to the package. Okay, so let me show you the package. So it's saved to here. So you have the dependence, right? So then you can use it. And next, what you need to do is I have another sample code, so you can refer to it. I didn't upload it, so I recommend you to try to do it. Okay, or refer to the happy.js. Okay, so happy.js from Joey, and then of course they have called the under the test called the validation. Okay, so it can give you some example. So right here, so even it gives you Joey, sometimes it change your path. So syntax is that we're adding the options. Okay, so we have to validate, and then sometimes we can validate parameters or queries. So you can see a query right here. Okay, so we can use um, all these path parameter to validate. Okay, check the input. So that's what you need to do. Okay, so right here, I already give you the two examples. One is that from the request parameter, so you can get it from the constant, because we're not going to update, okay, change, assign the value to this variable, okay, let's say name or language. So we just keep it. So what you need to do, then we can have these two methods, and then I will go into like change it, depends on the language, and I can switch it. Okay, so as and I can return a like greeting message in this way. Okay, and I will add the extra for some time. I want to test if this server is running online, okay, correctly. Okay, so I will add in a path, or sometimes you can change to like for tests, okay, whatever, or this one is by default part ID. Okay, so once you copy, then let me copy the link. Don't save it. I just copy this one. Okay, to here. Okay. Either way is okay, but I can stay to the left hand. Okay, so left hand, and then so once you have an index, I using the node to run this file. Okay, so I can run it. So it's running on the local host 3000. So I can execute it. Let me show you the source code. Open it on this side. Okay, and then so we are going to localhost 3000. So let's say if I want to get the test it, is it running? Okay, so it's running, and this time I want to check the greeting one, and then I want to pass the name. Okay, let's say yoga. Okay, right here. And because I didn't pass the query, okay, so I didn't pass it. So just like by default, okay, it's a English. Of course, if I don't, because this one I didn't pass it with the language, but if I want to, I can add a question mark and equals the language. And let's say I want to check to another one. Okay, next. Okay, so come with a question mark, language, equal sign. Okay, then I can change it. Okay, so this one is from the query. Okay, so if I change it to French, okay, so it's French. So here's the syntax like for the parameter and query. Because this one we cannot send it in the body in the payload. Okay, so either you need using terminal crew, okay, or the postman to post it with the body. Okay, so what I need to do, just try to follow in this way. Okay, and but right here, let's say we will try to validate with checking the minimum 3 characters. So if I change it to 2 character, let's say like this. Okay, it's a invaded appearance input. So we get the error. So because we try to validate, make sure it's like minimum. Okay, 3 character. Okay, of course we check it this one or like either this one by default. Okay, so we will try to validate. So if I type it another, let's say maybe Hong Kong. Okay, let's say I need to change it so you can see. So you see invaded request like query input. So you see. That means that if I don't pass anything, we have a default. But if we pass the query, okay, then we're going to validate. So make sure it is inside. So let me change to yes. Okay, expert new. Okay, that means Spanish, okay, and you will see in this way. What you need to do, you can try to follow the steps, and if you're watching the video, then you can try to follow, okay, and you should able to implement this part. So later you can modify this source code, change it, maybe handle with the post method, put method, delete, okay, or you can add more different route, okay, and which can help you to validate and test it. And so far, we are going to compete our Happy.js API server in this lab. Okay, and then the next lab will be the MongoDB. We're going to cover it because actually we are kind of like only have 5 weeks, including this one will be like 4 weeks left, and then we have the Thanksgiving and then final. So last part, just remind you, be ready to form a group. Okay, so be ready to start a group project. Okay, and I will post the notice. Okay, give an announcement. So you need to form the group, and also as the first part of submission, so you need to send me, okay, what's your project title? Okay, what kind of theme you want to work on? Okay, maybe if you want to, let's say, do a bookstore or whatever. Okay, so you need to tell me some like background or some just like roughly, okay, design. Okay, how is the structure of your website? Okay, temporary. So at least I know you have some idea. You may change, okay, during the part 2 or the last like part 3 submission. You can still no matter before the final submission your project, you can still change your topics. Okay, so it's totally fine. And I recommend you, if you're watching this video, you can try to follow. Also, you can try to like work on the lab. Okay, try to change it in the post method, put method, or implement the project. Okay. I would say if next class, if some of you want to get my source code of this one, I also upload it, share to you. But I want to see at least you can try to follow and implement by yourself. Okay, and recommend it. And so far, that's it for this lab. Thank you so much.